this video, we're going to focus on turning our first-person character controller script into a game with gameplay, graphics, and more. Let's get started. Okay, so it's been quite a while since we've had our last Unity video, and I decided that we could make one today. And so we have our first character controller engine, and we're pretty much done with this project, but there are some things that we need to do. And also, I want to start a new series on making this into an actual game with the UI, graphics, and more. So the first thing we're going to do is open up our character controller script. Actually, camera controller script is what we're calling it. And this is something I realized we should have done in probably episode 4 or episode 3. But I think so now would be a perfect time to do it right before we're making this into an actual game. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to type in the void start is cursor lock state. And the lock state of cursor can have many different types. And what the lock states are it basically can lock your cursor to different places in the Unity interface. So we're going to set the cursor lock state to cursor lock mode.locked. And that's the one we want, and that'll basically lock it so it can't go outside of these areas. The next thing we want to do is do cursor dot visible, and we have to set this to false. What this does is it's kind of self-explanatory. It sets the cursors like you can't see the cursor anymore. And this would give us a much better game experience so that we can just see the game and not get distracted by our cursor laying over. Okay, so I've saved this. Let's go ahead and run this. Make sure we're playing maximized. Okay, so let's click in. And it's kind of laggy. Okay, there we clicked in. And look, my cursor's gone. So now it gives us a much better experience because I can look around and I can just scroll around with my mouse and I don't even see my cursor, I just see the game. And if you want to exit this, so you just press escape and then your cursor's back again. Okay, so now the next thing we have to do is put some safeguards in our character controller. These safeguards are just for peace of mind because you won't really notice their changes, but in some scenarios you would, so you'll be happy that they're there. So, let's see. So, I believe we're using acceleration as our player's speed while walking, and the problem is, if they walk in one place for a really long time, guess what's going to happen? They're going to get really fast. So, what we're going to have to do is limit the speed to a specific variable that we don't want to get above. So, in void update is where we use all our functions. Let's go ahead and create a new one. And let's call it speed control. So, speed control, and remember you have to put parentheses because it's a function. It takes no parameters. Now it's going to give us an error, so let's create it. We can create it manually just for good practice. Private void speed control. Okay, and then let's put 2 curly braces. Oh, and yeah, it's going to might give us some extra code. Delete that. And then we have our curly braces. Okay, perfect. Now in here, we are first going to create a new vector3 to stop the velocity. So vector3, and we'll name this flat velocity. And we're going to set it equal to new vector3. And this vector 3 always takes 3 parameters, the x, y, and z. So new vector 3, and then let's think about what we want to set our x, y, and z to. So I think I'll set a new vector 3 with rb.velocity.x, and then 0 for the y, and then rb.velocity.z. And try to guess why we're putting 0 for y. Okay, so the reason is that we are only concerned with the flat velocity for the x and z because we're moving on the x and z axis. We are not moving on the y axis. So y we can just set to 0, and because we're not concerned about it, the rb.velocity.x and z, we want to get them. So now we'll set an if statement. So if flat velocity dot magnitude, and magnitude takes it and returns it as one integer, and then we'll set it greater than speed, and then put our curly braces. Okay, so now we know what flat velocity's magnitude is. We can start coding with it. So in this, we are going to say make another vector 3. And this vector 3 is going to limit our velocity. So let's go ahead and create that over here. So vector 3 limited velocity, and vector 33. So vector 3 limited velocity. And then we are going to set it equal to flat velocity dot normalized. And what normalized does, I'll explain in a second. Then normalized, and then so basically what normalized does is it takes flat velocity's magnitude value and makes sure it's no greater than 1. So now, now that it basically limits it, so we can normalize it and we don't have a constant speed. So it's only one speed all the time. And then we do it times speed. Now normalized doesn't definitely mean like 1. It could be like 3, but 3 is the only value. Now let's create a rb.velocity, and let's set it equal to new vector 3, and then we'll put limited velocity dot x, and then for y we don't need to limit y, so I'll put a 0, and then set limited velocity dot z, and then then actually in y let's put rb dot velocity dot y because that's the normal thing of y. So when the new rb dot velocity we don't want to set to 0 because that's actually affecting y. Okay, so now we are all good. We can go ahead and save this. But the problem is actually we are not using air resistance. So basically, if we could we could jump and walk at the same time, we'd still be going quite fast. So we have to implement this air resistance. Because I do believe we created it, but we never used it. Okay. So first thing, let's scroll down to move player. Let's scroll down to move player, and in move player, what we're going to do is we're going to start using the air resistance. Let's first go into Unity Editor so you can get a better explanation of what I'm talking about. Okay, so let's see. Okay, it's quite laggy. Let's just walk and jump. Hmm. Yeah, okay, well, let me see if I can try to get it to run faster. Hold on a second. Okay, so, okay, I'm getting it to render better. If you're ever wondering why this takes so slow, is because recording the video and all, it takes time. It's like it takes a lot of power to record these videos in high quality. So yeah, that's the problem. Okay, let me see if I can try to show you. Otherwise, let's see. Okay, so never mind. Okay, I'll try to show you later. But basically, this Air Force. First, let's try using it. Alright. But if you actually need to use like need to test it for yourself, just like you can just test it for yourself by doing it yourself here. Sorry for the lag. Okay, now let's delete everything in move player except the direction orientation. Now let's set if is grounded, which means if this player is grounded, the player is not like in the air. Then let's say we won't use air resistance, because why would there be air resistance while we're walking on the ground? Okay, so if is grounded, inside this, let me just fix my parentheses. So if, oh yeah, remember to always put parentheses on this. Don't be like, don't do what I did. Okay, so let's set rb.addForce direction.normalize. So to paste you take the one that we deleted earlier, you do Control X, now you paste in here. Now let's put an else, and then else we'll paste this again, and then do times air resistance. Now let's do file save all. You can also do Control Shift S. Now let's let it compile the scripts, and it should be there. Okay. Now actually, so air resistance. Let me save it again. Okay, there. Now it's working. So okay, air resistance. Now I've just noticed it's actually counterintuitive because um when we're moving, you'll still see this player moving really fast. And the reason is we're now multiplying our speed by air resistance. So uh, instead, air resistance has to be really, really low. So I'd say setting it below 1, because if you set it above 1, it'll increase it. If you set it to 1, it'll do nothing. And if you set it below 1, then it'll be perfect. So I'd say at least like 0.25. Okay, so now let's go to our player, and we should have the character controller script attached to it. And then we can set it to 0.25. Now after that, what we're going to do is go in our ground, and in this ground we are going to go to our asset store, and we're going to find some assets. Now I've already found some assets that we can use. I'll link these in the description. But if you want to find your own assets, here's how you can find them. Okay, so this is the Unity Asset Store. Next time you also have to make sure to always open in browser. Now you can find all assets here. Like you can search ground textures, anything you want. So let's search ground textures, and look, you can find cartoon ground textures. Now I like a low poly design. Like it doesn't have to. It does low poly doesn't mean low detail. It's just like a. It can also be nicely designed. So I like the low poly designs. So I'll be going for one of these. But if you want, you can use a different one. Now the one I'll be using, I've already downloaded, along with the other assets we'll be using in later episodes of this series. So just open Package Manager. It's below the Asset Store. And now see, these are all of my packages. Some of them are uh, installed by Unity, like Unity UI, but the rest is here. So okay, these are the three ones I want. Make sure to switch to My Assets, otherwise it will show everything. And this is the free low poly nature forest I'm using. The artist is PurePoly. This is their website if you want to check them out. And if you also you can buy their other assets. And so you'll probably see these are all their assets. But then you can also do that in the Unity Asset Store. And there, see, these are the packages I want. And shout out to the PurePoly team. This is so shout out to the PurePoly team. Their asset is really great. And they also gave me this really cool asset pack, the paid asset pack for free. So shout out to them. I I definitely think their assets are worth trying. So you should probably download theirs. And then these are the other two assets. Now, if you want, you can also use the ground textures, and then just use the low poly nature forest trees and everything else. But that's only if you use the second way we're going to make our ground, which is going to be shown in episode 2. Otherwise, you can go just use low poly nature forest, all of it, or whatever texture pack you have. Okay, so let's first, on top of the ground, we're going to start building. So let us first go to import this PurePoly. Actually, let me just move this player a little up. Then let's go to import the PurePoly because it's not here yet. So Window, Package Manager, Free Low Poly Nature Forest, and okay, we'll import everything because for now, and then once it's done, we have PurePoly folder. Let's go to Free Low Poly Nature Forests, and then finally go to Prefabs. Then we have PurePoly forests and textures, grass textures, flowers, trees, everything. So just drag anything you want onto the ground. Make sure it's on top of it, and make sure they're all separated from each other, the ground tiles, and we can make a really cool ground. Also, by the way, here's a heads up. If you're going to use our next episode's way of creating a terrain and making ground based on that. That way we can use paint trees and make our own mountains and all. You might want to take one of the PurePoly grass blocks, and then you can turn it into a PNG texture, and then that you could also use if you want, but otherwise then you could always just use other textures. Yeah. Okay. So let's drag all of our tiles in and you can do Control C, Control V and drag them together. Now this might take a little time, so you can skip ahead to when I'm done, but what you'll see here is basically I'm going to keep copying and pasting them, and slowly I'm going to select all the ones I have and copy paste them again, so that I can do this in a much quicker process and it is more precise. And remember, you can use scroll wheel with mouse wheel like this and scroll out, zoom in, and then using right click you can move around. So that's how I recommend you can find your perfect angle and start working. Now I've made 4. I think 4 covers like most of all. So if I copy these 4, and then let me just delete that one and copy these 4, and then I can make a few nice rows. Yeah. Of course, if you want to like make it more custom and use other tests, you don't have to copy paste. But make sure to fill in these cracks, tiny cracks, perfectly, because yeah, it'll look better in the end. And then now we have some ground for our player to be on. Now let's keep copying and pasting these. I have all of them now, so copy and paste. Perfect. And then keep doing this and you should get a nice little island to work with. And this now we can zoom in, change our view, and then we can start putting stuff on. So like, let's put a rock, we can put trees, anything you want really. Okay, so I think that covers, it doesn't cover all of the map, but that's okay, we can always make it bigger. And we don't worry about filling all of it because that would take a lot of time. Now, take all of these and put the layer to ground because otherwise we won't be able to jump. I see there's more metals, we'll get them later. Let's just create an empty parent for now and call this terrain. Now, the reason you might not want to do this way, even if you like this asset, is that you'll have a lot of um, things to use, like you have to drag each tile for a game. So you could do things like chunks, and but that would be much more complicated. So what I do recommend is if you want to, you can just always create a texture, a 2D texture from the one you like most. Like, so yeah. Okay, so you can speed up this of me um starting to do some work here and making our terrain. Basically what I'm doing is adding stuff and putting it as ground layer and putting in the terrain layer. And then I'll also be telling you things like how to like you can set a 2D texture and how the terrain is going to work. Okay. So the way terrain works is in this terrain we're going to have a paint texture tool, a paint tree tool, and a paint details tool. And the good thing is, right now these little grass plates they have colliders, and if you don't want colliders in a terrain, you can put these grass plates in, and they won't even have colliders if you put them in paint details. And if you trees you want the colliders, you can just put them in paint trees. And even stuff like mountains and all, since there's nothing like painting mountains, you can just put them in paint trees, and everything should work properly. But in next tutorial, I'm gonna teach you everything to make that work because we'll have to modify a few settings before we can get this to work here. Okay, so our map is coming along nicely. Now you notice a lot of these layers are on default. What I'll do at the end is I'll set the terrain to layers to ground, and then I'll say yes, change children if it asks me to change children. Okay, so I think that's a pretty good map. Everything is placed nicely. They're not like gaps. Now I can do yes, change children when changing layer to ground, and everything should work. Okay, so I think I will play this now. Yeah, looks good. Okay, if you want, you can add more details. I'm just zooming in to show you everything about this island, and then soon we're about to play this. Okay, let me just click play button, and we can start playing this. Okay, so I'm just waiting for it to load on my end. Sorry about this lag, but yeah. Okay, terrain, set, ground set. Oh yeah, we have to delete the ground. I was remembering. Yeah, so we have to delete the ground. That's what I was thinking we have to do. And now we are all set. Now we can play this, and look, the mountain's there. We can go towards it, jump on it, do anything. Oh, nice. Okay, I like this, and we can bump into a tree. It's like has the collider, and then that's why. So you can use some of these assets, make your game looking really nice. Again, thanks to the PurePoly team, because they for giving me some assets, and because they've made all of the many great assets for free. And also, if you want, you can even buy some assets from them because those assets they have even more. And so PurePoly gave one of them to me. I saw it has so many assets. It's really worth buying, so you can get and make your game nicer. Okay, so now we're pretty much done. I will see you in the next episode where we will start to working on a new feature, which is again, like I told you, terrain, and then we might be doing colliders. You can do code for colliders. You can also do sprites, but I recommend code. But it's sometimes buggy, so I might not be able to cover all of it. Now, then we'll start actually making our game after some time. If you saw the crosshair assets, that's going to be part of the last episode. Okay, thank you for watching. Goodbye. Thanks for watching this video. I hope you found it informative. Let me know what you thought of it in the comments section below. Also, please join the Discord for the server. If you don't have the link, you can find it on my About Me section in YouTube, on the description of this video, and on my website racinggecko.com. Thank you to the current members of the Discord. If you are a premium user of my channel, a Gecko Club member, then you'll get extra perks in the Discord. I encourage everyone who is already part of the Discord to share the link with their friends who are interested in coding. Goodbye.